Good morning, this is Kavipriya, Assistant Professor, EC Department, SNS College of Technology. I am going to deliver a topic multiplexer and demultiplexer from the subject digital electronics. And this is my flow of presentation. I am going to discuss about what is multiplexer, demultiplexer, types, advantages, drawbacks and applications of both multiplexer and demultiplexer. So first, what is a multiplexer? Multiplexer is a combinational circuit. A combinational circuit is one in which output at any instant of time depends only on the present input. So multiplexer, demultiplexer, adder, subtractor, encoder, decoder, everything comes under the combinational circuit. So multiplexer is a combinational circuit which has a n number of inputs. So any one of the n number of inputs will be transmitted to the output line based on the selection line. So selection line is represented as capital N. For instance, if there are two inputs, then the two inputs is represented as 2 power 1 is equal to 2. So the n is here is equal to 1. So the number of selection lines will be 1. So if there are two inputs, there will be one selection line and that any one of the two inputs will be transmitted to the output line based on the selection line. So multiplexers are also known as a n-to-1 selectors. So totally we'll be having n number of inputs and any one will be selected and transmitted to the output line. So we call it as a n-to-1 selector, and it is also known as a parallel to serial converter. Number of inputs will be there and it is converted to a serial one. So it is called as a parallel to serial converter and many to one circuits. So it is mainly used to increase the amount of data that has been transmitted through the channel with a limited bandwidth and limited time. And next is the types of a multiplexer. The first one is a very basic one, is 2:1 multiplexer. Here we'll be having two input signal and one selection line, and the selection line decides any one of the input will be transmitted to the output. So the selection of the input line is based on the selection line over here. And next is a 4:1 multiplexer. Here we'll be having 4 inputs and number of selection line is 2 power 2 is equal to 4. So number of selection line is 2. So these two selection line decides which input has to be transmitted through the output line. And next, what are all the advantages of multiplexer? Before that we have seen 2:1 multiplexer and 4:1 multiplexer, even 8:1 and 16:1 etc. types of multiplexers are available. And next is the advantages of the multiplexer. It is very simple in design and efficient uses of resources is possible in case of the multiplexer, and it reduces the error. The drawback is that it has a very limited number of inputs and the power usage is very much high, and also there is chance for the propagation delay in the multiplexer. Applications are, it is mainly used in the data routing and it is used in the computer memories and telecommunications. And next is up activity, which is on puzzle. This represents a time it taken for a signal to travel from the gate's input to the output. It is nothing but it is a time interval, which is nothing but it is a propagation delay. This is a visual aid. It is a matrix of square which is used to simplify the Boolean algebra, which is nothing but K-map. This is a law which is used to simplify the Boolean expression, which is nothing but it is a De Morgan's law. And this is a combinational circuit with many inputs and a single output, which is nothing but it is a multiplexer. And next is a demultiplexer. Demultiplexer is a reverse of multiplexer. We call it as a DEMUX. Here we'll be having a single input and the single input will be transmitted to any one of the output line based on the selection line. So selection line decides through which output line this input has to be transmitted. And next is the types of the demultiplexer. First one is a 1:4 multiplexer. We have a single input and 4 output lines is available and 2 selection lines are available. So this selection line decides through which output line the input has to be transmitted. And next is a 1:8 multiplexer. Single input which is a default one, and the output lines are here 8. And we have 3 selection line. 2 power 3 is equal to 8. So 3 selection lines are there. So selection line decides through which output line this input has to be transmitted. So totally 8 combinations available. So 8 output lines available, through which output line this input has to be transmitted is decided by the selection line. And next, what are all the advantages, drawbacks and applications of the demultiplexer? It is efficient data distribution. Multiplexer is a transmission and this demultiplexer is a distribution. It has a high speed data splitting is possible in demultiplexer as it is versatile. It supports a variety of applications. Drawback is that limited output is there over here and there is a chance for propagation delay and high power consumption. Applications are, it is used in distribution, data distribution, in communication system, and it is used for serial to parallel conversion, and it is used for memory address decoding. And next, what is the difference between the multiplexer and demultiplexer? The basic thing is that in case of multiplexer, we'll be having n number of inputs and one of the input will be transmitted to the output based on the selection line. Demultiplexer is one which has a single input and the single input will be transmitted through any one of the output line based on the selection line. And this multiplexer is a data selector and this demultiplexer is a data distributor. And next assessment question, a multiplexer can be referred as a data selector. Demultiplexer is referred as a data distributor. Which of the following is the best describes a demultiplexer? It is a single input to multiple outputs, many outputs. Which of the following is a primary application of the multiplexer? So multiplexer is nothing but it is a parallel to serial converter. So parallel to serial conversion is the primary application of the multiplexer. So that's all about the multiplexer. We have discussed about what is multiplexer, demultiplexer, and we have discussed about the types, advantages, drawbacks and applications of both multiplexer and demultiplexer. Thank you.